Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and today we are going to talk about my top 10 books of 2025 and a couple of honorable mentions that I wanted to bring up because I love these books and I love these authors, but they didn't quite make it into that top 10 bracket. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it and talk about these books. These are they're all so good. So my honorable mentions, the first one that I have is Whiskey Business and Scotch on the Rocks. This is book 1 and 2 of the Maccabee Brothers romance series by Elliot Fletcher. And these books, I loved them. I liked the relationships a lot in these. I liked the realistic characters in these. I liked the fact that there was no big third act breakup, miscommunication thing going on. It was just real people that have understandable, relatable issues going on in their lives, and they are working it out as adults. And I really like that. I like that a lot. This one is the series that I said reminds me a lot of the Rebel Blue Ranch series by Lila Sage, except instead of cowboys, they're Scottish. So these, the Maccabee brothers are all Scottish, and the first book is an struggling actress and a Scottish man who runs a whiskey distillery. And then this one is a woman who has grown up in foster care. She helps her foster mom run an inn, and the guy is the local vet. So these books are really, really cute. I like them a lot, and so these were definitely in my honorable mentions. They didn't quite make it to the top 10, but I read both of these books this year, and book 3 comes out the beginning of 2026. So I'm really looking forward to picking that one up and completing this series. The next honorable mention I don't have here with me because I have sent it to my sister, but one that I really, really loved this year was Inkblood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. I read this one early on in the year, and it's about two sisters who have been estranged over the years for various reasons, and they end up having to come back together. There is magic. It kind of reminded me a lot of Charmed, except it's two sisters instead of three, and I just had a really good time with it. I really, really enjoyed it, and so I wanted to mention it here. And then last, for my honorable mentions, I had to get it on here, is Scythe and Sparrow by Brynne Weaver. This is the third and final book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. The first one being Butcher and Blackbird. This one is following Dr. Fionn Kane and what is her name? Rose Evans. Rose Evans she rides a motorcycle in a circus, and she's just badass. And Fionn is a vet. Once again, we have a vet as he's a doctor. Sorry, he is a doctor, not a vet. But he is a doctor, and he has to kind of come into his own in this book. But either way, I absolutely loved this book. This is the final book in the series. I loved it, and I had such a great time with it. I also want to mention Tourist Season, which is right here. I do want to mention Tourist Season because I also read this one. Brynne Weaver has very quickly become one of my absolute favorite authors. I love these books. They are so much fun. They're cute romances. They've definitely got some spice in them, and I just love them. I think they are all so, so good, and I've gotten my sister to start reading them because she's really enjoyed them too. These books have me hooked completely just with her list of trigger warnings at the beginning because there's humor in it. There is humor throughout this book. Even on a serious note, there's still she breaks it up with that humor, and I absolutely love these. I love the way she's written them, and I'm really looking forward to Harvest Season, which is the next book after Tourist Season, and so I'm really looking forward to that one, which also comes out in 2026. All right, now let's get into my top 10. So I tried to kind of put these in order from my most favorite to my least favorite, but most of these can kind of swap around. I think my top 3 are pretty set in stone, but these books were incredible, and I had such a great time reading them this year. So in my number 10 slot for 2025, I have The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. Now, you might be surprised because The Spell Shop was my number 1 book of last year, but I still loved this book. I thought this book was really, really good. I loved the greenhouse aspect. I loved the sentient plants. I loved it. There was something with The Spell Shop that really hit home for me, and this one just didn't quite get there for me. I don't know why. I think it might just be the books in the small shop and fixing up the cottage in the spell shop that I absolutely loved all of that. And this one, I felt like while the sentient plants were definitely a huge part of this, and there was more of that, and there was more with the flying cats, it just didn't quite get there as in the same way that the spell shop did. Now, that is not a knock against this book in any way. I still really, really enjoyed it. It's just the spell shop worked better for me. So that's why this one ended up coming in at number 10. It's still on this list. I still absolutely love Sarah Beth Durst. I will pick up everything that she writes at this point because she's just an incredible author and I love her stories. So I loved this one. I'm really, really looking forward to the next book in the series, which comes out on July 28th of 2026. It is Sea of Charms. Sea of Charms is the 3rd book in this series. It comes out on July 28th. I'm really looking forward to that one and seeing how she finishes this out because I believe there's only going to be 3 books, unfortunately. But I love this series so, so much. I love the characters in this. I love the little Easter egg cameos of talking about Kaz from the 1st book and the connections that are there. And I would love to see all of our characters from this book and the Spell Shop and Sea of Charms. I'd love to see them like all come together in Sea of Charms. So I hope that happens, but I don't know if it will. She might keep everybody separate, but I hope she does some kind of like an inclusion book that like everybody somehow comes together. That would be a phenomenal way, I think, to round out this series. And I think it'd be really fun to see Kaz reunited with Turlu. I would love to see that. So this book is number 10. Absolutely amazing 5-star read. The next one I have on here is a sci-fi that I read earlier this year. I think it was in like March or maybe April. I don't even remember. But I read it earlier on this year for a time travel vlog. And this one sticks out in my mind because it had the pacing of a thriller, but it was more sci-fi based. At least I thought so. And I thought it was a really, really interesting concept, the way that we saw all these characters come together and have to figure out what was going on, why they were all there, and why they were all there together as well. And I thought it was really, really interesting the way that this book played out. And that is The Memory Collectors by Deep Meserve. This one I thought was so incredibly interesting. There is a group of, I believe, 5 or 6 people that they go back to a very, very specific date in their past, and it just happens to all be the same day where they are all somehow involved in a car accident that changes everybody's lives forever, and they are involved in some way, and they go back to try and find peace with what happened, and they end up learning some things that they didn't know before. And I think that was super, super interesting. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. It's definitely stuck with me, and I thought it was fantastic. So if you like sci-fi time travel books with a little bit more of a pace of a thriller, I think that you would enjoy this. It doesn't have the twisty surprises like a thriller does, but it has the pacing like a thriller. It moves very, very quickly through this book, and it was amazing. All right, number 8. I have Water Moon by Samantha Sato-Yambao. This book, I know for a lot of people was really hit and miss. Some people loved it and some people hated it, but I was one of the ones who really, really loved it. I thought it was super, super interesting. I loved the world that she created and how intriguing and different it was. I felt like she didn't spend a ton of time on any one specific place, and I kind of enjoyed that just because I feel like there was just so much that she was trying to have everybody see, and I liked it that they didn't spend a lot of time in one place. It was a lot of traveling, but I really enjoyed it. So this one reminded me a lot of a certain episode of Charmed where they are, I believe, trying to find a knife, and the sisters jump into the puddles and they go into like alternate worlds and stuff. And this book really made me think of that. And I always loved Charmed growing up. I used to watch it every single morning before school, and I still will watch it any opportunity I get. So I absolutely love Charmed. And this one had those similar kind of vibes to me, but it was a little bit cozier. It wasn't as much action packed. I love you. wasn't as action-packed, but I thought it was super interesting. I'm really, really excited to see the next book that she comes out with. That one is a train type one, the Elsewhere Express. That one comes out the end of January, so I'm really hoping to pick that one up as soon as it comes out and read more from this author. I think this was a really interesting debut, and while it might not have worked for everybody, it definitely worked for me, which is why it is number 8 on this list. Number 7 on this list is another cozy fantasy that I absolutely loved. I've read from this author before. I've been long awaiting this book, and it finally came out this year, and that is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sengu Mandana. Now, a lot of people were under the impression that this is a follow-up to A Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. However, it is not. It is a standalone, separate entity from that book. I loved this book. This book has a zombie chicken play a big part as the pet in this book, and there is a talking fox who is actually a witch who is cursed. And this book was so interesting. This is about a young woman who loses her aunt, brings her back to life, and then because she brings her back to life, she ends up getting her magic taken away from her, but she's supposed to be one of the most powerful witches of her age. And when she loses her magic, she's kind of lost. She doesn't know what she's supposed to be doing with her life, but she is running this inn that she has made it to where only the people who really need it and need help can find it. And this book has an amazing cast of characters, human and magical alike, and I absolutely loved it. I had such a good time. I was cracking up, and this book was absolutely incredible. It was definitely worth the wait, and I have no idea if she has anything coming out or not. I know this one got pushed off for a year, so I would definitely pick up more from this author, but I have no clue what's coming next from her. But I absolutely love this. This is definitely a fantastic book. If you loved Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, don't be afraid to pick this one up. If you haven't read Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, don't be afraid to pick this one up, because they are not the same series. They are not part of a series. They are standalones, and it was a great time. I loved it. All right, so coming in at number 6, I have a series that I binge read this year. They were coming out with the new copies of them, or reprinted, refurbished copies of them for the 3 months straight in April, May, and June, I believe. And I found the first one, didn't even know it was a thing, and then I ended up buying each of them so that way I could read the whole series. And if you've watched my videos this year, you know which series I'm talking about most likely, but that is the Queens of Renthia series. This is the first book, Queen of Blood. This is by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a high fantasy series where the magic system is elemental based, and there are fairy sprites that live in the forest that absolutely hate people, and they will attack them if there is no queen that keeps them in line. So this book is following our main character. I don't even remember her name right now, but this book is following a girl. It starts out when she's really young, and then as she grows up, she ends up going to school to potentially be a queen, and everything that goes along with it. This book was such a great time. There's kind of trials in it. There are academic things in it. There are so many things. I absolutely loved this book. I loved this series, and I love her writing. That's all there is to it. I had to have this on here because I absolutely love her writing. So this one came in at number 6 for me this year, this whole series. All right, so number 5 on my list is another series. I am currently on book 5. I have read the first chapter in book 5, but I have been reading it pretty consistently, and I have absolutely loved the series. Thanks to Sydney, I ended up starting Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman, and I'm in love with these books. I love Princess Donut. I love Mongo. I love these books. These books are video game based, where the entire world is taken over by aliens. They basically kill everything off, and they have the option to go in this dungeon that is set up like a giant video game to try and get through the levels to basically try and save their lives and whatnot. I love these. Each book is a different floor. These books are incredible. I love these books. I'm currently on book 5. I just barely started The Butcher's Masquerade in this series, and I'm absolutely loving these. So thanks to Sydney. This is one of the books that I picked up towards the end of this year, and I'm so glad that I did because I absolutely love these. I've been raving about them. I'm trying to convince my husband to read them. I'm trying to get my sister to read them. They are absolutely amazing. I love this series. Coming in at number 4, this was a book that was right place, right time for me, that right before Christmas. It was one that I needed to read in that moment in time, and it was absolutely perfect, and I'm so glad that I finally got to it. And that is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. This is the follow-up to House in the Cerulean Sea, and it was incredible. I know I've seen some people on Goodreads say that it wasn't as good as the first one, but I loved this book. I ended up picking this one up after having a series of DNFs and ones that I was just not getting into, and I instantly was connected with this book once again, and this series once again. TJ Klune has such an incredible way of writing found family and fantasy, and I love his writing. And this book was so good. I'm so glad that I got to it this year. I've been needing to get to it for a long time, and so I'm glad that I finally read it, and it did make it into my number 4 slot. All right, we are into my top 3 books of 2025. Can you believe it? It is actually currently New Year's Eve, so I am filming this down at the wire. But it is currently New Year's Eve, and these, I can't believe it. Okay, so book number 3 on my top 10 books in 2025 is one that I don't own. It's one that I want to get, but I just haven't yet. But that is Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This is one that I read for my Sydney Made Me Read It video, just like Dungeon Crawler Carl and just like another one on this list. But Bloom was amazing. It is a short little horror novella. It is messed up. It is so strange when you're reading it because it's like an obsession story. It's an obsession story. It's got a little bit of almost romance, but it's just kind of a little bit too weird. And when you get to the end, shit hits the fan, everything goes crazy, and it was phenomenal. I'm not huge on novellas, and horror has a tendency to disappoint me with the endings, but Bloom was spot on. It was exactly what I am looking for in a horror book, and it is absolutely incredible. I have not stopped thinking about that book since I read it for that video. It is amazing, and I am so intrigued to look into more by Delilah S. Dawson now. And it had to be in my top 3 because that book was just absolutely incredible. So number 3 was Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. All right, my number 2 slot for my 25 books for my 2025 reading, I should say, is probably not a huge surprise, but that is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was the last one I read in that video for Sydney Made Me Read It, and I was so involved and interested in these characters from the prologue. I don't usually get invested in characters in the prologue, but this one I was. This was about women who are first going into NASA in the 60s, and it is a sapphic relationship and women finding their place in the space community and in amongst everything else. And it was incredible. This story was heartbreaking and amazing and interesting, and I love the characters. I understand now why everybody says that Taylor Jenkins Reid writes characters like no other, because this book made me understand that. It made me very excited to pick up more from this author. This is the first book I've read from her, and I loved it. This book is absolutely amazing, and I'm so glad that I ended up reading it. All right, my number 1 spot. Again, this one shouldn't be too much of a surprise with how much I've been ranting and raving about it, but this is a start of a romantasy series that I read this year, and I am one of the many that have been absolutely hooked on it. But that is Shield of Sparrows by Daphne Perry. This book, the character building, the world building, the monsters, the romance, this slow burn, oh my god, everything in this book, it was absolutely incredible. It was done so well. I loved all of it. It was amazing. The slow burn, the romance doesn't even kick in until like 400 pages in or just before 400 pages in. So the slow burn was working for me, and the monsters were interesting. The fact that our main character is just really overlooked. She doesn't really know how to fight or anything like that. And she tells this guy, she's like, teach me how to fight. Please teach me how to fight, so that way I could be useful. And I love that. I love a little montage like that in a book. I love Oh my goodness, this book was amazing. I got a copy of this book for my sister to read because I didn't want to send her my copy because I loved this book. Book 2 comes out, I believe it is in April, or I think it's April, maybe March. It's the beginning of 2026, and I cannot wait. Rise of the Starling comes out. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait for this book. This book, I'm so glad that I read it. I was curious. I had heard good things, and I finally picked it up and I bought it and I read it, and I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it. This book is #1 book of the year. And I mean, these books, they're absolutely amazing. I love the slow burn fantasy romance. I want the world building. I want the character work. I want everything else. And this book, for me, had it all. It really, really did. I loved this book. So that is my top 10 books of 2025. Have you read these? Did you love them? Did you hate them? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for being here, hanging out with me for a little bit, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.